Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 575 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Terry Mixon. Joining me, Paul E. Cooley. How you doing, man? Are you imitating your cat that lives out on the porch now?
No, he's a tabby, and he's cute. I can't imitate him.
Yeah, you are not cute.
No, I'm not. Not at all. Right now, I probably look pretty tired and, etc. There's lots of reasons for that.
You look like you've driven through a hurricane backwards.
Backwards? Yeah, well, that's pretty much the way things go these days. But, that notwithstanding.
So I'll start off with what I've been doing for the folks listening into the show. I've been recovering from shoulder surgery.
What is the sound of one hand fapping?
When one shoulder is hurting, the other hand is not fapping. I can assure you.
Oh, wait, I meant clapping. That's what I meant. Yeah,
I'm sure that's what you meant. Absolutely confident that that's what you meant. What else could there have been? But in any case, I had the shoulder surgery a week ago, and I have only just started feeling up to where I could even sit up for any kind of length of time and write. And it was just sad because I was like at about the 85% of the novel mark. So I was really getting into just starting the ball rolling for the end of the novel. And that's a really bad place to stop. You'll sit and come back in a week. What the fuck was I thinking about?
Yeah.
But something happened. Well, we'll come back to what happened because that's actually relevant to what we're going to talk about.
Oh, God. Okay.
First, I want to know what you've been up to.
Coding. Lots and lots of coding. And writing on Derelict. I'm so far behind on podcasting. It's just not even funny.
Wait, you're a podcaster?
Yeah, it's good to have. Not lately. And fuck you, Terry. I've been. We've got a lot of crunching to do on demos and whatnot. So I've been going through and getting rid of bugs and adding some features that we hear people need and want. So that's pretty much been my life. And I come back from Austin, try and recover for a couple of days, and then suddenly I'm facing the onslaught again. So that's pretty much the way things are going. But I get back to Derelict, and I know where I am at. It took me a couple of days to figure out how to get one character out of a mess. And so while I was figuring that out, I decided to put the other characters in a mess. So basically, I'm writing the novel right now is like 3 different stories, and then I'll put them all together at the end. Once I'm done with all of it, I'll properly space it out so the thriller setup is actually there. So interleave it, but that's the plan. But the problem is, while I'm doing this, is I'm working on 2 novellas at the same time. So I just kind of bounce around getting this stuff done as I can.
You're a busy man.
I am a busy man. But, there's a thread I kind of left, and I want to deal with it.
You want to tug on it and see what comes apart.
Well, I know exactly what's going to come apart, but basically there's like 40,000 words with a story that we can't know about because nobody was there. But I kind of need it to be told or want it to be told because it's kind of cool.
It's time to bring back in AUV5.
AUV5 is not coming back. It's not happening.
Says you.
Well, there's still one more Black Book. I guess it's possible. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway.
The hero no one knew they needed.
So apart from that, just kind of blue skying about what I'm going to do when certain rights are returned and things like that. So a lot of stuff on my brain that's not just robot and computer related. Just a lot going on. But I think today's topic is rather prescient. The longer it takes you to write something, the more chances are you're going to find another idea that you want to cram in, or that completely changes the arc of the story you're actually working on.
It's totally true. And this happened 2 days ago. I was chatting with somebody on Messenger about where I was, and we were talking about how, as an author, I leave plot hooks just literally scattered throughout everything that I write. And we were talking about something, and it suddenly occurred to me that something I introduced in book 5 would make the perfect capstone for this particular novel, book 13.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so suddenly the ending changed slightly.
Oh, man. Is that a bad thing?
No, but it's an violent thing.
You ultra-violent?
I'm going to break something really, really badly.
I'm going to break something very precious, and you're all going to have to deal with the broken pieces. Yeah.
Pretty much. I'm going to break my toy. And by breaking my toy, I'm going to break a lot of other things while I'm doing it.
So basically, you want to be the proverbial bull in the china shop. Yes, before 1,000 viewers send me, well, if we had 1,000 viewers or listeners, before you send me all sorts of guff about how the Mythbusters busted that, I said proverbial, not realistic. So you've become the proverbial bull in the china shop, wrecking everything in sight.
I'm definitely going to break something in the finale.
So do you have mad writer's disease, or is this something else?
No, this is just my desire to tie up a loose end. I was looking for something that would tie up, that would draw one of the characters more deeply into the plot, and I found it because of having the conversation with somebody else. It sparked an idea of something that I'd done in the past, something that was inspired by media that I consumed.
Mm-hmm.
Which happens an awful lot for me. This book that I am writing right now, there are all kinds of things that the plot elements are inspired by media that I've consumed, whether it's watching Stargirl on television, whether it's reading RPG supplements, whether it's reading novels that I'm consuming. So many different little aspects of them have jammed themselves together into something that I'm doing. And it's amazing. It's becoming more obvious the more I write. I'm totally not original. I'm just really I am really just good at picking up all the little parts that are inspired by other things that I see around me and making my own little piece of Play-Doh out of it.
Oh, that's storytelling, man.
It is. But when you start as a storyteller, you hear be original. That's total crap. There is no such thing as being original. I honestly don't believe that.
I don't either. I everything that we do, everything that we see, everything that we hear imprints itself in our reality. And therefore, when I decide to, let's not call it ripping off, when I do an homage to someone, it's kind of like, I love that idea, but I want to do it my way. The part that it's your way is what makes it unique, and the elements that you draw together. And so when you go out there and you see something, or you read something like Remembrance of Earth's Past, there are certain concepts that are going to stick with you. And if you're lucky, it'll actually challenge some of your thinking on certain subjects that really people don't talk about much. And it provides you some really different avenues to take some of your stories in that you may not have been aware were there. And it may actually change some of the things that you want to do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
No, as long as you're not slavishly stealing somebody else's stuff, that's perfectly fine. What I'm talking about, I'll even give an example.
Oh, here we go.
Are you familiar with the show Stargirl at all?
No.
I wasn't either until I started watching it. It's on the CW, and it's about what you'd expect from a CW show. It's in, I think it's in the DC universe as part of that, but I'm not really sure. If it is, it's buried really deep. But it's about a young girl in this little bitty town that discovers that her new stepfather, who she doesn't particularly care for, was once a sidekick to a group of superheroes that were slaughtered by the bad guys.
Mm.
And one of the things that got left behind after their deaths was their lead superhero's staff, Starman's staff, which is some type of alien device that nobody really understands where it came from. It doesn't talk. It's obviously got some intelligence in it, but it can't communicate in a way with humans that actually does anything.
Okay.
So watching her trying to figure out how she can do anything with this staff, when the staff has a mind of its own and has its own agenda, that sparked an idea of, I could do something very similar to that to one of my characters.
That's a rip off from D&D, for crying out loud.
With an alien technology that uses nanites, I could go ahead and have an alien technology interfacing with the human that they can't, it's not in a way that the human can understand. And the alien technology has its own agenda, but maybe it can be used in a way that can help what they're trying to do. And that was one of the ways that I modeled what I saw in the media into something that I could do. I obviously did not create Starman staff, although I will admit, in the past I did create Thor's hammer. This is something that did happen. But that's something from way back mythology. I don't feel too bad.
You talked about that. I just saw Bugs Bunny holding this singing sword.
With my spear and magic hammer.
No, different episode. But he's trying to do something quiet and creep along, and the sword just starts singing for no damn reason. Alert the bad guys. Yeah, that kind of thing. Be kind of like Venom, if you're familiar with that character. If Venom didn't talk and didn't communicate at all, it just suddenly would take over. Yeah, if you had no idea what was going on, if it just took over for no reason that you could understand, and you're just basically trapped until it decides to let go. Yeah, that would be awkward.
But I took that element and I mashed it together with other things that I saw both in RPGs that I was reading and other things, just little elements of them, and made it into my own. And that's what writers do. So I'm a mixologist. I'm not somebody that's original. I'm a mixologist.
We're all mixologists. We're all mixologists.
Except I can't make booze worth my life.
What killed me was, two books recently. Alex White's alien book, The Cold Forge, and the other one was, The Remembrance of Earth's Past. I keep going back to the book because every time I think about it, there's more elements or textures that kind of jump forward and kind of inform kind of give me a pathway to understanding kind of what a universe or society would be like after lots of monumental events have occurred, like knowing aliens are around and they're not exactly nice people, but also the entire concept and philosophy of the Dark Forest really makes you think, how do you want to take things and where do you want to go with it? It's one thing to say there's evil aliens out there. It's another thing to say that we communicated them and they're basically on their way to kill us right now before we get any stronger, and could go after them. It changes the dynamics of what you're talking about, because it's not a war of conquest. It's a war of survival on both sides. So suddenly it changes things dramatically. Attack your opponent while they're weak before they come after you. And if it takes you 500 years to go greet them, that's a long time and technological explosions for things to happen. And it really could change a lot of things when you suddenly arrive. Maybe they've really gone into overdrive because they know you're coming. It changes the ideas of plots. It changes the ideas of histories, galactic histories or whatever else. It changes the entire way that you view the universe as a possibility. And that was really cool. And it's something that I'm definitely stealing as much as possible. Because I think it's a really neat idea, and it kind of meshes very, very well with how I saw Derelict going in the first place. So that kind of media does jump in big time.
And we're going to pull in the elements that appeal to us. So we're going to find the elements that mesh with what we want, because we automatically discard the ones that don't. Yeah,
pretty much. Alex White's Cold Forge, despite the fact that it's written in present tense, is one of the main characters is probably the most venal, narcissistic, intelligent psychopaths that you will ever come across.
But is he good at his job?
Yes. He's a corporate vice president. Excuse me, a corporate director.
He's got his own motivations that he follows, and he is good at what he does.
And he has his own sense of what's titillating and what's pleasurable. And those traits are encouraged, if you will, by the company. So that was fascinating to hear that character talk. And the narrator of the audiobook did such a fantastic job capturing just the absolute disdain this character has for everybody he meets. Anybody he meets is immediately thrown into a bag, their personality and everything pulled apart by the first 5 words they say and what they're wearing. It's very reminiscent of Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho, but this one actually has a story that was good.
So, just out of curiosity, did he ever meet anyone that he had difficulty labeling?
Yes. Yes.
How did he react to that?
He was intrigued. I believe the line is, but she was something new. I believe is what the character says when he meets her, because he's already put everybody away.
That's one of the things that I found, that you can make the most striking characters if you're true to their personalities, their natures, and their competences. You can make someone a villain and make them well-read, well-liked if you make them true to what they are.
Yeah. And this is a guy who has no true face. He is a mask.
I recently read a book that I ended up putting down.
Oh yeah, I saw that post.
A certain group of characters, a certain group of society, if you will, was portrayed in such a way that not only were they cardboard cutouts, but they were so poor, in my opinion, a version of cardboard cutouts that the cardboard cutouts fell over during the story. They weren't competent at what they did. They weren't competent at what they were supposed to do.
Were they minions? Were they just minions? They weren't actual people. They were just minions.
Yes.
And not competent ones.
Yes.
Okay. So somebody went Venture Brothers.
If they weren't exactly minions, and I'm not going to really go into the details of it because I don't intend to criticize the book or the author, and I don't want to give any details away. But if you're going to, I'm making an assumption that the author's views on that group of society colored how they were used in the story, and it was to the story's detriment.
Gotcha.
And hearing yours, it's obvious that rather than going with the pat answers, they flowed life and competence and power into the villain in this piece.
Yes.
So that he wasn't a cardboard cutout. He was a power unto himself.
No, every time you got into his head, you would hear him say something internally that he would never say out loud because of fear of being found out. But he manipulates people constantly wherever he goes and takes pride in it. He loves going to places where the organization is awful, so he can basically fire everybody and start over. He's that kind of guy. And his voice is just horrifying. The first time you meet this character, he's kind of a dick. And then he becomes more of a dick. And then you understand he's a sociopathic dick. So it works out really well. And it was done masterfully. But getting into the head of a character like that, who's that damaged, it's been a long time since I've seen it done that well. And it really made me want to go back into the Fiends collection and dig up somebody because it was just such an interesting story, because you got the narrator was so close to him that they might as well have been the same person. But he wasn't the only character, and he had a foil, and that was the other main character. And that foil is what made the story work. So that is just wonderful interplay. If you want to go see how that's done really well, that's a fun book to do it with. It's not your standard alien story, trust me.
And I want to go ahead and amend a little bit what I said before. I put the book down. I put the book down because it didn't gel to my taste. When you don't like something, it's because of your taste. I'm not saying that it was badly done. I'm saying that I didn't like the way it was being done. Other people may disagree. The book may do wildly successfully. My opinion is for me alone. So take that as you will.
Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one and they all stink.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
And they occasionally whistle at you.
I got nothing. I just... There's a Family Guy episode. If you ever watched Family Guy, there's like these little 30-second cuts or 15 seconds cuts they do when Peter says something just ridiculous. And the episode starts off with them watching TV, and the show is called Sherry and the Anus. And the character is just an ass with legs. And one of the things shows a picture of him at a party or whatever, and he's got the
party favor?
The party favor sticking out. So freaking wrong. Yeah, you can't even unsee the manufactured image, let alone the cartoon one. It's done that well. But it's little stuff like that kind of sticks with you in your head, and you're kind of like, I've got to use that somewhere. Where am I going to use this? Because I like that scene. What do I do with it? How do I get that in there?
When you absolutely must insert an ass trumpet somewhere into your story.
There we go, an ass trumpet. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, just ridiculous scenes that you see that kind of stick with you. Sooner or later, they're gonna end up somewhere in your fiction.
In the end, no matter what we write, it's going to be judged by the people that read it. Any one reader's opinion is their own and wrong. It's going to be the aggregate that determines the success or failure of a book. The aggregate.
What if you got an aggregate of idiots?
If you're writing to idiots, then you're in great shape.
So there was some article about there's a group of AIs that or an AI farm, whatever, that's currently working on writing a play. And some comedian said, yeah, that's how we all die, is the first time the play is performed and they see the reviews. That's how we all die.
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. I was just like, yeah, that story needs to be written.
What do you mean that robots have control of the nuclear arsenal?
No, I just see a robot or an android running around visiting the literary critics doing the J.M. Silent Bob thing.
How did the man die? His toaster exploded. It's really strange.
It just sounds like such a great story. Anyway, it's just shit like that you hear that just turns up all the stuff. Everybody gets a story out of those. Everybody gets a scene for a book they're working on because of something they stumbled across or heard or saw or anything else. Maybe something in life changed. All this stuff ends up in there. We thieve everything every single minute of every single day.
There are no original stories.
No.
We pilfer elements from everything that we perceive around us. And it has been that way since storytelling began. As long as you file off the serial numbers, you're good.
Filing out the serial numbers is what's really fun. It leads you to do lots of really crazy things, like combine stuff that shouldn't be combined. That's all I'm going to say. I love those kind of combinations.
Burn the heretic!
I saw something to move to some other completely other topic. Yeah, there we go.
Completely different topic.
Completely different topic. I can't remember which writer it was, posted a link to an article about an agent that had self-published their book. And somebody was like, well, what does that mean exactly? Why didn't they go through their own agency to publish the book?
They didn't want to pay 15% to their agents?
to themselves.
Because they knew what value they'd be getting out of that?
I am not going to go into that. I am going to say that if that is the case, it was it's a rather interesting, could be used as a rather interesting barometer for the industry. But you don't know the details behind it, so there's no telling what, maybe there's a conflict of interest clause and things or whatever else. There's no telling.
Or maybe this person just simply is smart enough to realize that an agency gives them no value whatsoever, particularly when they're self-publishing.
It was just the way it was presented was kind of like, oh, see, the industry's dying. It's like, yeah, but you don't know any of the details off of that. Although
all of these stories about how the industry is dying is made up by people seeing what they want to see and cherry picking which data they want to cherry pick. They don't know what the big publishers are really into this for and what they're getting out of it. Let me put this forward to you.
No, here we go.
A lot of the big publishers, all of the big 7, big 5, big however many they are owned by giant multinational corporations.
There are 4 of them now, right? There's the big 4.
I don't even know how to count them anymore.
Maybe down to the big 3. Who the hell knows? Anyway, continue.
What is their product? Let me ask you that. What do you think their product is?
That's a really good question.
It is. I'll agree with that.
The product is supposed to be financing the creation of a product. They are supposed to be responsible for marketing the product, and they're supposed to be responsible for selling the product, distributing
you're not
the
saying
product.
What the product is. What is the product?
The product is technically the book, the story.
That is not their product.
What do you think?
It may have been their product 30 years ago. It is not their product today.
So what is the product now?
Intellectual property.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring that up.
Their product today is intellectual property that they can bring to their corporate masters to put under the tax rolls at an incredibly overvalued rate so that they can sustain losses in other areas. That is the traditional publisher's product. Boy, do I sound cynical or what?
Oh, yeah. You sound very cynical. You sound like one of those renegade leftists. Stop that.
Them's fighting words, partner.
Don't let the man keep you down, the bastards.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure exactly when it changed, but nowadays, if they buy a book, they might lose some money on it, sure. But it's worth millions of dollars on their tax rolls. That's why people don't get their rights back, because it's a tax write-off.
That's good to know. More things you need to really kind of think about when you read sign contracts, whatever they are. I'd be really leery of going with any of the big guys at this point.
Anybody that's going with novel length work with traditional publishers, I feel very sad for them.
Unless you're doing work for hire kind of thing, like you're writing in a series like Alien or something like that, you have no choice anyway. Somebody else owns the IP already. But I mean, those books, you know that your name is going on them, that they'll be done well and get out there and you get paid. So it's worth doing it.
But what happens 35 years down the road when the author decides, I think I'm going to take that copyright back?
Don't know. I haven't read the contract. I have no idea.
35 years ago, they didn't really understand what they were doing. They were still making books back then. They weren't making intellectual property back then. The contracts nowadays may be phrased differently, but copyright law, the way it's written, has something in there that between 35 and 40 years after you have had something published, you can send in the notifications and terminate the rights to it and draw it back to yourself. And that includes works that you've written for hire if they did not have the appropriate clauses in those contracts. And having listened to some of the older authors that wrote in the Star Trek universe, for example, one of them is saying, those contracts don't have any kind of language in there about it. I'm going to go ahead and take those books back when I get to that point, and then I'm going to strip out all the Star Trek specific elements, and I'm going to republish them. And that means that Star Trek is going to have to unpublish them. And he expects an explosion to occur about then. Books that are what is there was something I can't even remember now which ones it was that this year are expiring. And there's some big properties that are expiring this year that could be pulled back that would just literally shake the entertainment industry.
It makes you wonder just how much hat in hand some of those folks are going to be when they approach the author and say, don't do this.
They're going to have to bring a very large checkbook.
Oh, yeah.
With
definitely.
Plenty of zeros. The Terminator franchise is one of them.
God. Oh, really?
It is. The person that did the original Terminator, I can't recall if it was a book that came before the movie or whoever signed the movie rights over. They are at the point now where if they choose to, I believe, they can retract those rights. Imagine that, if you will.
Oh.
And it's not far from the.
That'd be like Alan Dean Foster ripping away the Alien, the first Alien book.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
The chaos is literally just around the corner. And a lot of authors or their heirs are figuring out that's what they can do. And you can expect to hear about it at some point, just exploding across the consciousness of the entertainment industry. People that are like the Terminator franchise, they're going to come hat in hand with a large checkbook going, yep. We would like to go ahead and renew.
Almost by force.
A lot of money.
Almost by force. Because, God, anything that you put in those arcs, ooh, that could get ugly. The lawsuits are going to be very interesting if somebody decides they're going to test it.
Once that first product goes back in copyright, that is going to muddy the waters of the ones that came after it so badly. I cannot even begin to hear the volume of the screams.
Oh, think about the Star Wars properties.
Yeah.
50, 60, 100 books, all written with co-authors from early 80s on up. That's going to be interesting. Knowing Disney, they've already figured that out and covered it somehow.
While we're talking, I'm going to look because I saw a list of those just recently, the last couple of days. So I will, while we're talking, see if I can find a list of some of those so that you can go, what? Here, I found the thing. Let me scroll to the bottom where there was a list of products, 1985's best sellers. That's 35 years ago from today, done for 1985. The Hunt for Red October by Tom Clancy.
Oh, shit.
Dune, Chapter House by Frank Herbert. Let's see what else we got here. I'll just go down the list. Some of these don't appeal to me, but The Cider House Rules by John Irving.
Ooh, that's going to be a big one.
Texas by James Michener.
That's going to be a huge one.
Lonesome Dove.
Another huge one.
Secrets by Danielle Steele. Family Album by Danielle Steele.
Oh, no.
Lucky by Jackie Collins. Proof by Dick Francis. The Mammoth Hunters by Gene Auel, A-U-E-L.
Yeah.
Lake Woebegone Days by Garrison Keillor. The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub.
Oh, God.
Thinner by Stephen King. Contact by Carl Sagan. The Accidental Tourist. The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice.
Oh, shit.
Mexico Set by Len Dalton. If Tomorrow Comes by Sidney Shelton. Mindbend by Robin Cook. The Sicilian by Mario Puzo.
We've read 3 of those.
Mm-hmm. In A Light in the Attic by Shel Silverstein. The Son of the Morning Star by Evan Connell. Loving Each Other by Leo Buscella. Moses the Kitten by James Harrod. And a few that weren't bestsellers but were written that year. The Handmaid's Tale
Oh,
by Margaret Atwood.
Shit. I bet
Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Accidental Tourist by Ann Tyler.
Yeah.
If You Give a Mouse a Cookie by Laura Joff Newmanoff. Sarah, Plain and Tall by Patricia McLean. That's just a short list of things that this right now could be pulled back to the authors. All rights.
And most of those have movies made of them.
What's going to happen then?
That's
screaming will then commence.
Well, Daniel,
I think the reason the Terminator stuff was so much is because it wasn't a book; it was a screenplay, and those rules apply to those as well.
And everything depends on that. Ow.
So you can see where in the next few years, this is suddenly going to become something very conscious to everybody that's involved with writing. Boom.
Interesting. Interesting things to think about. That's going to fuck some shit up. Potentially.
I sat back and I read that. I said, well, it is 2020. So what else could go wrong?
Oh, no kidding. What else could go wrong? I'm terrified. The question I have is now, and I guess we won't know the answer to that question for probably another 2 or 3 years, is how much this current financial craziness, once it's all said and done, is going to affect the market going forward for writers, movies, everything.
I can tell you something that I was thinking about this the other day. I hadn't seen this in writing anywhere. This was just me thinking. Right now, my sales are up because people are having to consume more things that are book rather than television because a lot of shows have went on hiatus.
Yep.
That's going to continue and get worse over the next year because there's still things coming out that were produced before all of this came down. They're not at the point where they can go back and pick anything up at this point.
Right.
It's going to be another year, maybe, before they're picking things back up. There's going to be a window where authors that produce their own things are going to have an advantage, a serious advantage.
2 years, 2 years.
Do not sit on your laurels, friends. Write faster.
2 years. I'm just going to keep saying 2 years for a while.
Just keep writing the books that come after that. And then when you have your books back, you can do a rapid release and just one a month. Boom, boom,
I
boom,
will never
boom.
do anything like that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Be the man.
I would
Make
never
the noise.
Yeah, bring the noise. It just, because it's going to be on hiatus for so long, it just makes me wonder what's going to change in the rights sphere, what's going to change in the kind of contracts, because now everybody has seen that we don't need you. We've got streaming to the point where we don't need you. If streaming is paying enough to get all this stuff done, then the broadcasting corporations are really going to have to justify their existence beyond sports.
I want to see how the movie theaters are going to justify their existence. And
That
how that's going to change the way
I
things
think
are
that
consumed.
if you look at the last 10, 15 years, hell, maybe 20, going to the theater is a luxury. Renting videos online or even from Blockbuster was a fuck ton cheaper than going to the theater. The theater became about an experience. The theater was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be with the crowd, with the presence, with everything else. That's how they justify their existence, which is one of the reasons why, if you think about it, over the last 25 years, how much have theaters changed?
A lot.
The seats used to be almost as bad as fucking airplane seats from the 70s. And now you've got the comfy chair. You know, you got people serving you.
You've got the D box where it vibrates underneath you when the noise hits.
Yeah, if you're watching the right movie, I wonder what the vibrations do. Anyway, so the my point is that it's changed. It's become an experience. And it used to be you go to the movie and then you go eat. Now you can take your date to the movie, do the eating and drinking there, and then just go home without going someplace else.
That's actually what me and my wife had done before all of this lockdown. We had started going to a theater that served dinner.
Yeah.
And we'd eat it. We'd have a meal there.
Yeah, because it's actually perfect. You get everything kind of done at one time. You don't have to muck around and drive all over the place to different stuff and try and make time. It just
and I would pay for that experience, and I did.
And it is still the experience because you are still with the crowd. You have a badass sound system. You've got the comfy chairs. You've got all of that bullshit, and it is become more like a restaurant experience.
I'm going to differ with one part of that. It's only just me, because I'm a self-made writer here that I'm working on my own time, and my wife is disabled. We can go when no one is at the theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we did. We go during the week when nobody is there. There's like 3 other people there sitting there in the theater. And so we would have the big screen experience without the crowd, and that's how we liked it.
Yeah, most of the movies I see in the theater, I see them at the end of the run, or they're movies that even on the first couple of days nobody goes sees. So I'm usually there with less than a large crowd, which I like. I like having a crowd. I like feeling that, but I don't like having a bunch of noisy assholes in the place. So it just kind of cuts some of that crap out.
I know that Disney is taking their remake of Mulan, the live action one that they did. It was supposed to be a big screen experience, and they're releasing it as a premium product on Apple TV Plus.
They're releasing it as part of buying a new subscription.
That's not true. They're releasing it as a $30 once viewing sort of thing.
I saw that, and then I saw that statement was retracted.
I did not see the retraction. I only saw the original.
Yeah, I saw that.
Tell me what it really is.
I have to look now, but I believe it's basically you pay $30 for Disney Plus and you get the Mulan.
So what about people that already have Disney Plus?
I think they just get Mulan.
Oh, well, that's different than what I thought it was then. I thought they were going to do the pay-per-view sort of thing.
Let me see. Premiere exclusively. Wait. I saw.
But in any case, while you're looking here, I'll go ahead and talk about the thing in general. A lot of these big theaters are starting to try to figure out how they can stream their product rather than going through the theater. And the fact that theaters are not going to have people in them, even once they're allowed to open back up, what kind of moron is going to go to the theater? I mean, seriously, how stupid do you have to be?
The same moron is going to go to watch a live sporting event.
You know, Darwinism, it's a thing.
It is going to cost $29.99 to watch in addition to the Disney Plus subscription fee. But once you have it, you own that movie.
Ah, okay, I see. So it's not a time limited thing.
Yeah, it's not a one and done. You own it. You own it as long as you are a Disney Plus subscriber.
And you know, I can live with that too. If big screen TV people want, if big TV producers wanted to do that sort of thing, I could play that game.
Yeah.
$30 for being able to pause a movie while I'm watching it at home, go make my own popcorn, go to the can, deal with whatever I'm dealing with. I could deal with that.
Well, it's for them. It's just this is just a marketing ploy to get people to go to Disney Plus. But we'll see how whether or not the sticker shock kicks their ass.
How much is your usual movie experience? I think most people are going to say $30 is not that much for a big name movie.
Oh, probably $12, $13.
Do you eat when you're there? I know that my experience of going there is significantly more than that.
Popcorn, maybe, but yeah.
God, you know how much popcorn costs there? Holy cow!
Expensive.
Expensive.
Expensive because the movie theaters don't make money on the films at all. They only make money on concessions.
I got you on that.
It used to be like, you goddamn theater owners gouging us, or like, you goddamn movie producers gouging us.
I'm waiting for them to have the people with the wands going, where's that soft drink? Is that, have you got a soft drink in your pants? Are you happy to see me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Are you happy to see me? It's just looking at how the market's going to change or trying to predict it at this point is it just looks like it's going to be a train wreck. Because basically anything they didn't have in the can, filming wise, they can't touch.
For a year plus.
Whereas the stuff they had in the can or that was almost done and going through edits, they can still do all that edit stuff. And there's probably a year and a half worth of content sitting in the can.
So the big gap is not going to be
there
now.
was, or maybe
It's,
there
in about
was.
a year, we're going to be in a vast desert
Yeah,
of new stuff. There's nothing going to be happening.
Except reality TV. That's the only thing that'll be going on.
It probably will be something that's happening, but it's an opportunity for authors to jump into that.
Hockey is just going to be 365 days a year because they're the only ones who seem to know how to do this.
Who was?
Hockey.
Yeah.
They haven't had any COVID cases, or like the only ones.
It's because they have no teeth. COVID obviously must have something to do with teeth because, there's a correlation. Hockey players, no teeth, no COVID, right?
No, because these guys are all playing for the playoffs, and therefore they're following the rules. And not bringing in hookers or whatever else these little bozos do.
Surely none of the bozos that are doing sports are bringing in hookers.
On a Disney property. That's the really hilarious part of this. Anyway, yeah, that was standing. That's immaterial right now. Regardless, yeah, I get that. I was wondering about that the other day. And that kind of also goes, books can keep rolling. That's the second cat sighting. The first on Terry's end, I might add. Shadow was playing in the cat.
Minnie was up here. I picked her up. You may not have noticed her, but she climbed on me.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. 3 cat sightings. We're way below quota. Way below quota.
That's because I'm keeping them from climbing on me. I've already had 2 cat incidents where they've jumped on me, and my reaction is screaming like a little girl. Ah! And the cat's staring at me. What the fuck is wrong with him?
Daddy used to like it when I climbed up his arm. What happened? Yeah.
Oh, the pain. So harsh that I could not even move the cat.
God, you're old. You're old.
Yeah.
We have to survive the Rona. Rona. Oh, God. Now we are going to get a copyright notice. Warning. Yeah. Fuck you, whoever owns that song.
I don't think you have the properly, sorrowful attitude that you should have for stealing somebody's work like that.
Oh, fuck the RIAA and the MPAA and any of the other film, whatever they are. Fuck those people. They don't have my best interests at heart or any of the performers. Dickheads. Anyway, that notwithstanding. We should probably close this episode up, man.
We should close it up. But I want to leave people with a thought here. As you're watching what media manages to trickle in, now until it all comes to a sudden screeching halt and there's nothing new under the sun, and you start missing all the remakes of movies that you really didn't want to watch in the first place because there's really nothing else on to watch. Remember that you can mine just about anything that's going on for elements that you can include in your stories. And it'll make stuff good. If it appeals to you and you like it, find a way to wedge it in there. It's good. Don't worry about it. Just make it happen. There is no originality. There is only mixology.
Thus spake the Terry.
That's right. Any closing words, Paul?
You get inspired, write it, include it, move on.
Words to live by.
And if you can't find the scene in the present work to make it happen, you might have another book coming. Just warning you.
Yeah, well, there's been times where, I go, oh, this scene would be, no, this scene's not going to work at all. But, there's another series I could use that scene in.
Yeah, that's how we end up with things like The Black and Derelict. So there you go. That's all I can say. I think you said everything else.
All right. Well, folks, if you'd like to send us a note and tell us what we missed, send us a note at show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can send Screamer a note at screamer@screamer.com because obviously that must be her email address.
Not a real email address.
Not a real email address.
Screamer.org.
Who the hell knows who's actually there? If you send an email there, you deserve the response you get. All right. If it's a porn site, you deserve what just happened.
It will definitely be a porn site. We will not be held responsible if you go to that URL because we have no idea what's there.
That's right.
You should really shut the hell up.
If you would like to tweet about screamer.com, go and send a note to Paul_E_Cooley because his Twitter feed is not nearly as full of junk as it needs to be.
Oh, God.
And we have to thank the good folks at podhoster.com who host our audio for the website. You can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast. We are supported by the good folks at Patreon at patreon.com/DRS podcast, whereas for as little as $1 a month, you can get exclusive content if we ever get off our dead asses and start producing exclusive content for you again.
Yes, if parents stop ending up in the hospital and you stop ending up in surgery and I stop going to Austin every couple of days, yeah, we might actually be able to do that.
It's totally possible. You can also find us on Facebook at the Listeners of the Dead Robot Society group Facebook page. And I think that covers it, other than Paul listing out our $10 patrons, because I did that out of order.
Our $10 patrons are Summer Wilson, Joshua Sylvester, Tony L. Joy, Andrew Smallwood, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, Nathan Cosby, Drew Bernardi, Chris Winder, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you very much, folks. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, folks. And we will do a live episode as soon as Paul has like 3 seconds to breathe. We're going to sit here and wait until you turn blue, because that's what we do.
Won't take long. I used to be a smoker. Hey, my color went out, so I got.
I know, it looked like you turned blue. That's kind of weird.
Violet, you're turning violet. Yeah, something like that. All right. Until next time we see you, go get your ass right. Get your ass in the chair and write.
Do something. Write a book.
Yeah, do that.